I've been having some crazy synchronicities this past month, like literally unexplainable. Unless you believe in God, this is just well beyond coincidence. And if it was just one or two, that'd be okay. But I had like 10 distinct or 14 distinct events that couldn't have been explained other than the fact that life has meaning. So, on November 15th, I watched The Simpsons for like the first time in 10 years. And later that day, I was on the Sopranos episode that happens to be the only one that mentions The Simpsons. Okay, season 3, episode 8. All right, I thought that was kind of weird. And then on the 17th of November, I bought Walk the Line. And then the very next day, I was on season 8, episode 16 of The Simpsons. It wasn't in order, obviously. I just was watching season 8 in general. And it does a Johnny Cash parody with Krusty the Clown dressing up like the Folsom Prison show that Johnny Cash did. And mind you, there's like 600 episodes of The Simpsons, so this is really, for it to happen the next day is kind of beyond coincidence. Then on the 18th, I watched Leonard Nimoy in The Simpsons episode, but later that same day, I just happened to watch a Hasidic Jewish documentary that was narrated by Leonard Nimoy as well. I was like, oh, weird. That's kind of not a coincidence. And then the Sopranos episode, season 4, episode 7, mentions Man in the Iron Mask. And then the next day, Sideshow Bob reads Man in the Iron Mask on the Simpsons episode I happen to be watching. Okay? Then on the 27th of November, watched Aerosmith on the Simpsons. Then later that same day, The Sopranos mentions Aerosmith in season 5, episode 9. This is all God. Like, this isn't stuff I can Google and then just make up to look cool. Like, this is what my experience is like. This is what life is like to me. It's one big synchronicity. Everything happens for a reason. We're just too fated to open our eyes and see. Then on the 29th of November, I watched Big Lebowski, which mentions the handicapped parking spots. That same day, Sopranos mentions the handicapped parking spots. I mean, you might not find these topics, quote unquote, too rare or too unique, but they are very specific topics. What show did you watch that mentioned handicapped spots in the same day? Let me know. On the 30th of November, I mentioned to an Elvis fan that I had an Elvis stamp, and that's a picture of it. Then 2 hours later, Sopranos mentions a postage stamp on top of the Empire State Building. Now, I thought it was just interesting, because I would literally told someone about a stamp, and then a show I happened to be watching mentions the size of a postage stamp on the Empire State Building basically represents how long humans have lived on the Earth compared to the size of it. 11:30, Homer sings The Flintstones. Later that same day, Sopranos mentions The Flintstones, season 6, episode 4. Okay? I know these are pop culture things, but when you have 14 of them in a row, it means something. Big Lebowski mentions sticking a gun up the ass. And then Sopranos mentions gun up the ass the very next day in season 6, episode 7. Okay? I watched the Abyss documentary. Later that day, I'm watching The Strain, and it mentions The Abyss, season 1, episode 2. Here's one. On December 3rd, I watched Psycho. The next day, Simpson shows the Bates Motel. Bam. Very next day. These are not like within 2 days or within a week or within 3 days. This is either the same day, within a few hours, or the very next day. So it's clear in my mind. December 3rd, I watched Big Trouble Little China. Next day, my favorite game reviewer, Worthaby, mentions the same movie when when reviewing Ghost of Tsushima. I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, on the 3rd, I watched Joker again, and his mom calls him Happy, of course. And then the next day, Mr. Burns' parents call him Happy. Isn't that weird? Like, what other show have you seen the parents call their kid Happy as a nickname? None. And I just happen to see them within 24 hours of each other. And lastly, my apartment number is 111. I just think this isn't a coincidence. This is just cool. Fallout 4, one of my favorite RPG, open world, post-apocalyptic games. It's about Vault 111. And I'm here in quarantine, you know. I got to work from home. and my apartment is 111. So I just thought that was interesting. But all this Simpsons, Sopranos stuff, that was just too much coincidence to ignore. So I started posting them on my Instagram, and I'll post more when it happens. Just, you know, all that stuff about 2012, maybe it's happening now, but more of a Christian angle instead of just the New Age stuff. Anyway, take it easy, y'all, and keep an eye out for your own synchronicities. Make your own videos. Show us the meaning of your life, not just life. Later.